the point of the story about Warren Buffett is he bought the greatest brand in the world. He thought Coca-Cola, but Coca-Cola is not the greatest brand in the world. At some point, Google and Facebook and Apple and Amazon leaped them. But you know what is the greatest brand in the world? Bitcoin. Bitcoin is certainly the greatest monetary brand in the world. You got the dollar, but the dollar is not an investment. It's losing value. After the dollar, you got Bitcoin, and Bitcoin is at the point where just about everybody in the world is going to know it if they don't already know it, right? If you go and listen to maybe one of the smartest regulators in the world, that would be Gary Gensler. Gary Gensler literally taught a course at MIT.
Yeah.
You can go watch the course. Go on Google. If you're going to risk your life savings, maybe you ought to go on Google and type Gary Gensler blockchain and money, and then sit for 25 hours and see what he said. And what you'll see is at the end of all of it, after 3 years of studying and after all this, he stood in front of Congress and he said, Satoshi's innovation is real.
Yeah.
Okay. Bitcoin is real. That's going to change the world. Everything else is either an investment or a speculation. And you may, and if you have good information and if you understand the market better, maybe you ride it. But they're different things. And you should figure out, are you a gambler? Are you a trader? Are you an investor? Are you a saver? And it would be a tragedy to think that you're saving money, in one of the yo-yo coins.
Yeah.
And on the, because you're not saving money, you're gambling money. I think one interesting model is to ask yourself the question, who are the other people that are buying this thing? Like, why did they buy it? Like, if I'm buying a building in Istanbul, why do other people buy buildings in Istanbul? If I'm buying gold, what do the other gold investors think? If I'm buying Bitcoin, what do the other Bitcoiners think? Why did they buy it? How long do they intend to hold it? And then the second question to ask yourself is, who am I going to sell it to in a decade? Or who am I going to sell it to when I decide to sell it? So if you apply that principle, for example, to Bitcoin, well, you think that has evolved. But right now, there are a lot of people buying Bitcoin to hold it for a long time period, the hodlers.
Yeah.
Right? It's part of the ethos. And it's interesting to everybody in the world. They call it, the currency of enemies or the money of enemies. Like an American could eventually sell a lot of Bitcoin to someone in China or Russia or the like. And generally, what's the plan? Well, the plan at MicroStrategy is to buy billions of dollars of it and hold it forever. Okay. So if you understand there are people that think that way, then the character of the investors will be the character of the asset. Right? And so as you sort through all your various tokens and coins, and you try to choose between, like, am I going to buy Dogecoin, right? Who bought it? How long are they going to hold it? Who am I going to sell it to? Think about that. And then when you're considering whether you want to own property or gold or stocks, right? Even the type of stock, right? It's helpful when you think about who's in the investment cohort that I'm investing with, because that gives you a sense of the volatility of the asset, the future of the asset, the longevity of the asset, and how you ought to handle it. And the research, you can do research on what is it, and like you can study how it works, right? And what does it do?
Yeah.
But you can also do research on who else is owning it and buying it. Are they selling it? Are they buying it? And when someone says, I bought it instead of gold, well, that's a signal. When they say, well, I bought it because, I think Facebook or Google are going to build it into their iPhone or their Android phone, that's a different signal. When they say, I bought it because I think that all of the cash and the credit on the balance sheets of every company on earth is crumbling, and I feel like this should replace that on their balance sheets, that's a different signal, right? If they say, I bought it because I think it's going to empower 2 billion people, economically empower people and lift them out of poverty, and I think it's a human right, that's a different thing. So try to figure out, what do people believe about the thing you're investing in, who's owning it, and that'll tell you the future of it and how you ought to treat it. And, like, it's pretty helpful. If I did own a city block in Istanbul, figure out, when I decide to sell it, who can I sell it to? Is it 5 families? Is it 50 families? How liquid is the market? Why will they buy it? Right? Yeah. All of those things are interesting, and I think they're helpful when you think deeply about who owns it, who will want it in the future. If you're like a middle-class family and you live in Istanbul and you bought a really nice rental house next to your family home,
yeah,
you can rent it out to tourists and people that come, expatriates to come to work in Istanbul.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to want to buy it because I don't want to take the risk of owning property in a different country. And I'm not going to rent it from you because because I'm not going to be there. I don't have a need of it. On the other hand, if you took the same amount of money and you put it in Bitcoin, you could lend it out to me and I would pay to borrow it. You could generate rent off it from 100,000 counterparties in Tokyo or Switzerland or Monaco or New York. So it's like you can generate yield on it from anybody, any financial institution on earth. They're all going to want to borrow it.
Yeah.
And they're all going to want to buy it when you're done with it.
Yeah.
And you can also, like, if you were to call me and say, Mike, I have this really nice house and there's no mortgage on it, but the bank in Turkey won't give me a mortgage, but will you loan me money? I'll pay you 8% interest. The answer is like, no, I'm not going to loan money against property in a foreign country, it's just too complicated, right? But if you said to me, Mike, will you loan me money against my Bitcoin? Yeah, of course, right? Because in like 15 minutes, you can just transfer the Bitcoin into custody and I can give you a loan and I've got the Bitcoin as collateral. So if you want to buy an asset that you can generate rental income on, or that you can pledge and borrow against, or that you can sell in a pinch, or when you move and you want to move to a different country, you can take with you, right? It's got to be digital. It's got to be digital. And if you're going to own digital, start with the dominant digital network, the biggest brand. The point of the story about Warren Buffett is he bought the greatest brand in the world, he thought, Coca-Cola. But Coca-Cola is not the greatest brand in the world. At some point, Google and Facebook and Apple and Amazon leaped them. But you know what is the greatest brand in the world? Bitcoin. Bitcoin is certainly the greatest monetary brand in the world. You got the dollar, but the dollar is not an investment. It's losing value. After the dollar, you got Bitcoin, and Bitcoin is at the point where just about everybody in the world is going to know it if they don't already know it, right?
Yeah.
It's being marketed in the best way possible, and every politician talks about it. Everybody knows about Bitcoin. So you're really buying into the greatest monetary brand or investment brand, maybe in the history of the world. On Saturday morning, when you're bored drinking coffee, Apple stock's not changing price.
Nope.
I'm not tracking the price of gold. I'm not tracking the price of land in New York City. I'm not tracking the bond market is closed. I'm not tracking futures. The only thing I'm thinking is, look at the crypto market and look at Bitcoin. Bitcoin's moving.
Yeah.
Where's Bitcoin?
And the good thing about it, is
interesting thing in the monetary universe, and it's the greatest brand. And that's why it's a safe bet for the long term. If you have $1 million of property in Turkey, it's going to take you a year to sell it. You're going to pay a 6 or 8% transaction fee. You're going to pay a tax on it. And then the universe of people that want to buy it is 1/1000th of the money in the world.
Yeah.
And if you own the same amount of Bitcoin, you're going to sell it in 10 seconds.
Yeah.
You're going to pay a 0.1% transaction fee, and the universe of people that want to buy it is everybody.